In honor of the recent release of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, this episode is devoted entirely to the Sorcerer Supreme himself, Doctor Strange. First, we're going to have an art class, where I teach all of you how to draw the Master of the Mystic Arts using only easy-to-draw simple shapes. Then, it's off to the Classic Game Showcase, where we're going to spend a little bit of time with a more recent video game in which Doctor Strange features prominently. Now, I'm sure all of my Player 2s will want to see what we're drawing this episode, so without further ado, here it is. Hadouken!
Okay, Player 2s, I can't wait to get started with this one because we're going to draw one of my favorite Marvel characters, the Master of the Mystic Arts, Doctor Strange. Now, this class may be a little bit more difficult than some of the other ones, but we're going to try to make this as easy as possible by breaking everything down into small, simple shapes. So we're going to use the same process we always use. We're going to take our pencils and we're going to press very lightly because this is the guideline step. The first thing that we're going to do, very simply, is draw a circle. Inside the circle, we're going to draw a line right down, splitting the circle in half so we can work symmetrically, so we can have everything that looks even on both sides. We're going to draw a rectangle starting right about here down to about there. We're going to draw a straight line about this length, and then we're going to close it up right about here. We may have to alter this a little bit later on in the drawing, but again, these are just the guideline steps. So now we have the basic shape of his head. We're going to add a few little minor details right now just to expand on this a little bit because we're going to draw two ovals on the side. These would be for his ears. We're going to make these even on both sides. We're going to try to make them the same size. After that, starting right about where our guideline for our rectangle is, we're going to draw two diagonal lines, and we're going to draw his eyebrows. So it's two shapes like this that pretty much look like two intersecting triangles. We're going to try to make them, again, the same size on both sides. That's why we have our guidelines right here that help separate that. Now these are going to be completely black, so we can play around with them a little bit. The next step is we're going to draw his nose, which starts off as a curved line down to here, a curved line down to here. At the bottom, a letter U. All right, I'll slow down a little bit. Curved line here, curved line here. We have a letter U here. We're going to draw a little circle right there, which will be shaded in when we actually finish this. And we're going to connect a little curve like that and like that. Again, so right now we should have eyebrows, nose, his head shape. Two little detail lines from here to here. Again, Benedict Cumberbatch, the actor who portrays Doctor Strange, has a relatively long face. Since we're doing kind of a caricature, we're going to kind of extend that a little bit just to make it a little bit longer, to make it actually look like him, but to be a little cartoony. This part is where we may have to fix the chin area a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw his goatee first. So we're going to draw a little curve right here with two triangles right there and we're going to bring it all the way down to here. We're going to try to do something very similar on the other side. Curve here, triangle, and then we're going to bring that all the way down to here. Now, since we have our guidelines and since he has a longer face, we can judge our drawing right here and extend or contract, which means lengthen or shorten what we have already drawn here. So I'm going to take this chin and I'm going to draw a guideline right about here. The line that we did here, I'm going to extend it to there, just to kind of sharpen his features just a little bit. See how that made a huge change in the face shape by just changing those two little lines? We're going to go back to drawing the goatee. We're going to draw a little triangle here. Follow that around down to here. Down to here. We're going to try to make everything the same thickness, so we're going to just take it straight down. Again, this is going to be a solid black, so we're going to go in and we're going to color this all in. So if it's a little off, we can just fix it along the way. Right about here, we're going to draw a triangle shape, followed by another triangle shape, and then a straight line. Actually, no, let me change that. A diagonal line to here, and a diagonal line to here. So I'm just doing this right now just to show my player 2s exactly what this would look like when we're finished. You don't need to do this because actually this might make your drawing a little bit tougher to erase. I'm just doing this very lightly just to show you that this would be one solid shape when we're finished. Next up, player 2s, we're going to draw his lips. And we're going to follow what we did here. A little curve here. Short diagonal line here. Short diagonal line here. Again, we're going to try to make everything even on both sides. Then we're going to draw a little curve, followed by a little curve here that's a little pointier than the top curve that we did, and then bring it down around. I know I'm going a little fast, player 2s, but like I always say, that's what's great about doing this on YouTube, is that we can pause, slow down, rewind, do anything that we need to keep up. I'm just trying to get everybody all on the same page with this whole thing. So work at your own speed. If you're not going fast enough, that's okay. Work at your own speed, like I always say. So we're going to draw a little curve at the end of this little shape that we did right here. Again, this is going to be colored in dark as well. Just to show that he's kind of smirking a little bit. Then underneath that, we're going to draw a little line. Bring it up to here to connect to there. There to connect to there. So again, everything is relatively even. And now we have Dr. Strange's mouth. The next step, we're going to go back up and we're going to do his eyes. And we're going to do this very simply, as we're going to draw a diagonal line, a straight line, and another diagonal line. Again, we're going to try to make this even on both sides. We're going to try to make this the same size. So if you need to, it might help to draw another guideline across, so that way you can follow the guidelines that you did right here. So again, we're going to do the same thing over here. The eyebrows start pretty much just a little bit past where the nose is. So we have these shapes right here for his eyes. Since he's a slightly older man, we're going to do a little line right there. And inside there, two ovals with a small oval on the inside and a larger one even more on the inside. And we're going to try to make these the same size. If they're a little off, we're drawing in pencil, so fix it as need be. Okay, Benedict, Benedict, that is a very tough name to say. Benedict Cumberbatch, let me say that again. Benedict Cumberbatch has very high cheekbones. So we're going to draw a triangle that extends down to here. Same thing over here, a little triangle that extends down to here. And then close the face up right here a little bit and kind of shorten our original guidelines. The next step, we're going to do his hairline. So we're going to do a little curve right here. Same thing over here. That's where his hairline starts. Then we're going to draw a curved line, just slightly curved, right about there. We're going to draw one little curve here, one bigger curve here. This is probably the most difficult part of the drawing. And I'm going to take it slow so all my player twos can understand. One curve here, another curve there. We're going to draw a little line that connects right there to the center. Then we're going to draw a slightly curved line here and close that up with this line here and draw a line or two right there. When we finish this up and actually go to the stage where we actually color this, Dr. Strange has dark hair on top, but on his temples, on the side of his head, he has gray. So these lines will help add more detail to that gray when we do color this and have it stand out just a little bit more. We're going to follow what we did here and just draw a curved line that has a little triangle and then bring it down and around to here to close it up. Right here, we're going to draw a slightly curved line, again, that comes to the point as a triangle. We're going to follow this that we did here and just kind of add two small triangles at the end. And trying to keep everything even, we're going to do a little curve here, triangle, and bring it down to there. Now I did that a little bit too much. This is great. This is why we have our erasers. I'm just going to fix what I did there and just shorten it a little bit. So there you go. You can start to see how this image is actually falling into place. We're going to close this down about here. Again, the same thing that we did over here. We're going to add a couple little curved lines. And then inside the ear, the shape that we have here, just going to add a little, it's kind of like an upside down letter J. Put a little curve there, a little curve there for details. We're going to do the same thing on the other one. Curve here, little curve here, little one there. A few curved lines up here. And there you have it, player two. So far, we have just drawn Doctor Strange's face. Now we're going to add a couple little details along the way to make this seem more like the Sorcerer Supreme. So we're going to draw his neck and his cape. Very simply, we're just going to draw two lines down, a little bit thinner than our original shape that we had for the head. In the middle, we're going to draw a letter V, and we're just going to make a little curve here and a little curve there. Okay, letter V, curve, curve. We're going to draw a little curve here for his Adam's apple, and just maybe signify just a little detail there by just having some of the detail on his tunic. We're going to extend this down just a little bit. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to draw his collar for his cape. I love that cape. And all we're going to do is we're going to start about halfway through the ear. We're going to draw a curved line. That's too much. We're going to draw a curved line. Now we're going to bring it down to where that ends. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to try to make this the same size. Curved line. And we're going to go down to about there. We're going to add a little curve starting right about here, about maybe halfway through, to just simply show where his shoulders would be. And maybe like a little line here for detail. Little line here, bring this down to here, just add a little bit more detail to the cape. Same thing over there. And there you have it, player twos. We have just finished step one of drawing Doctor Strange. Now the next step is we're going to take our black felt tip pen or black permanent marker and we're going to ink over everything that we need, only the necessary lines. All these guidelines, all these extra lines and stuff, when the ink dries, we're going to erase everything. Plus in this process, this is where if we catch little mistakes along the way, we can kind of change them to make our image just a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to start right now in the middle of his face, and I'm going to go over his nose. We've got our little nostril here. We've got around. And our other nostril. Again, I'm going to try to keep this even. We're going to do our little guidelines there. Then what we're going to do is goatee. Bring it down. And since again we did a whole bunch of little shapes and combined them to form one big shape, I'm just going to go over the lines of the shape. Right here. And around to there. I'll go back and color that at a later step. And we're going to go over his lips. And since this is a smaller area, I'm just going to finish it all the way right here. Bottom lip. Then I'm going to do his eyes. Eyebrows. I'm going to shade those in really quick. I'm going to go over his eyes. Now something my player 2s might want to do for this drawing, as you can see I'm using a very fat tipped black marker. When you do some of these smaller, more intricate details, it's a lot easier to use a finer tipped black marker. So what I usually do on some of my other work is I have a whole bunch of different pens that are all different sizes and just use those so I can fill in these smaller spaces. So, because sometimes, depending on the size that you're drawing at, it may be difficult to use this thicker pen. So, there we have his eyes. I'll go over and do his cheekbones. And those little triangles. Then his jaw shape. Again, see the good thing that we use these guidelines that help keep everything even. I'm going to start with his hair. Follow the curve here. Curve here. Again, the hair is probably the most difficult part of this drawing, but I'm sure my player 2s, who have tons of practice doing things like this, have got this under control. But that being said, be careful when you're inking this over, because once you ink it, that's it. You can't erase that. So before you start inking, just take a look and make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. Those little details for his hair. I'm going to do his ear. Same thing over here, I'm going to do the other ear. A couple lines right there. For his detail, the rest of his hair. And his neck, little Adam's apple area. His tunic. That's about there. His cape. Player 2s, I would love to see your drawings after this episode, because I know that this is a more difficult one, but I know from what I've seen from what you guys have put out already that my player 2s are amazing artists, and they do very, very good following directions and making some pretty decent pieces. And the good thing about this is that once you learn the basics, you can start adding your own little bits of flavor to everything and changing it and making it your own. Add another little line there. And there you have it, Player 2s. We have just drawn Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme, Master of the Mystic Arts, and one of Rob's favorite Marvel characters. I'm going to shade this in really quickly, just so you Player 2s have an idea of what this actually looks like when it's complete. And then we would have finished our Doctor Strange drawing. So I hope you all had a good time drawing this. I hope this wasn't too difficult for you. And I cannot wait till the next class.
Doctor Strange doesn't have a video game based on his solo adventures, but the Sorcerer Supreme has made numerous appearances in other games. On this episode of the Classic Game Showcase, we're going to focus on one of his more recent appearances as we fire up Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite on the Xbox One. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is a 2.5D tag team fighting game released in 2017 by Capcom for multiple consoles. This title is the 7th installment of the popular Marvel vs. Capcom series, features some of the same classic gameplay that made this series so much fun. The story of this game revolves around a sudden convergence between the Marvel Universe and numerous other Capcom universes. Our heroes must round up the missing Infinity Stones and stop Ultron Sigma, who is the merged form of Avengers nemesis Ultron and Mega Man Zero's archenemy Sigma. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite plays just like many of the other games in the series. Players take on their adversaries in a 2-on-2 tag team match using punches, kicks, special moves, and combos to deplete their opponent's life bar. Players also have the option of tagging a second character and use the Infinity Stones to access unique abilities. Doctor Strange is one of my favorite characters to use in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. While he's not the fastest character to use in this game, he's got quite a few special moves and features that make him a formidable opponent. Plus, his hyper combos are awesome and dish out a ton of damage. Fans of Marvel and fighting games in general will love this game. While the art style of the characters doesn't quite stick the landing, and the story mode is a bit cringeworthy, I highly recommend checking out this game if you get the opportunity. You can still find this title in stores and digitally for a decent price, and as long as you stay away from the story mode, I think you'll have a great time with this one. Until next time.